Alright, in this video we are going to be doing a general devil fruit tier list. This tier list will apply to everything. It'll apply to grinding, PvP, you know, sea beast, krakens, bosses, etc. You know, that whole thing. I saw some comments of people wanting it and I didn't really know what else to upload, so just thought, why not go for a devil fruit tier list. So yeah, let's not waste any time and jump right into it. So starting off at E tier, we have Suke and Kilo. I'm not even going to cover these alone. Suke, if you don't know why Suke is bad, you're living under a rock, but I guess maybe not everyone knows why Kilo is bad. So Kilo, first of all, only has one damaging move. Its other two moves are just float up and float down. And yeah, its only damaging move is an ult. It has a lot of knockback. It does almost no damage, and it has a very long cooldown. Do I need to explain further than that? It's not really useful for anything. It's definitely the worst fruit in the game. I'd probably make it worse than Suke, because Suke at least has a little sliver of PvE potential when it comes to maybe bosses, because they won't be able to see you. And I did make it work a little bit with one sword style back in the day. I have a video on that, one sword style Suke, which I actually made work surprisingly well, and it was decent fun, but the fruit itself is very bad. But yeah, I feel like that makes sense for E tier. I don't need to explain more than that. Alright, now for D tier. Mera. Mera is the only fruit I put at D tier, because it's not particularly like as bad as Suke and Kilo, but it's definitely not as anywhere near as good as the fruits above it. So I feel like the only true place I could put it was D tier. It's not really, like, it's bad for grinding, it's bad for PvP, it's just not great. It's a low damage, low stun too. The stun, like, they nerfed it a long time ago, and it's just, the fruit wasn't really viable for anything. It just sat in this weird spot as the worst rare, but better than Suke. But now that's not, like even now there's commons that are better than it. Well, there's a common that's better than it now, so it's just, it's in a weird spot. Its kit just isn't great. It's not really useful for about anything. I did see some people in my comments saying that you could use it pretty well for leveling, but even then, I feel like you'd be better off using bomb for leveling as a rare. But yeah, that's pretty. I don't think I need to explain more than that for Mera. I know it's a bit like these early tiers. I don't have very in-depth explanations because the reason I put them there is pretty obvious. So yeah. So let's go into C tier. C tier, I put, let's start off with Bari. Bari is only in C tier because it is really good for PvP, right? I feel like we can all agree that a lot of, I think it's still the same in update 4. I don't think anything has changed with it. It's good for PvP. Its PvE is extremely lacking. There's not much to it. There's not really any high damage moves. So it's just sits there as just a okay mediocre, not even mediocre for PvE. It's pretty bad for PvE, but it's really good for PvP. So I slid it into C tier. Maybe that was a bit too high. Maybe it should have been D tier because it can't grind like anything. It can't grind bosses. It can't level. It can't grind sea beast or krakens or anything like that. So maybe D tier, but I think C tier is fine just because of how actually really good it is for PvP. But yeah, the next thing I put in C tier was Spin. So Spin got put in C tier because it literally serves one purpose, very similar to Bari. Its grinding capabilities aren't there, but its PvP capabilities are. Like it can do some real mean stuff in PvP, so I decided to put it there. If you don't know, I made a whole video on Spin. Every YouTuber I know has made a video on Spin at this point. It's very broken. I don't know. There's no, like, they don't look like they're going to change it anytime in the near future because they haven't changed it yet. So, yeah, it looks like we're just sitting with a broken common for now. But, yeah, no grinding capability, but good PvP capability. So, C tier. Alright, now for when the tiers actually start getting interesting. B tier. First, let's touch on Gum. So I put gum in B tier, and I was kind of I was iffy on this fruit. This is definitely the only fruit that I wasn't super positive about where I placed it while making this tier list, because I was contemplating putting it in C or B. But I feel it's more well-rounded. It has good grinding capabilities and pretty okay PvP capabilities. I like it a lot. Its PvP definitely isn't bad by any means. Up tilting into Gatling is a true combo if you do it right. There's a bit of a trick to it that I won't get into now, and you can get some really good PvP out of it. I'm pretty sure the gameplay I'm using for this video has gum clips, and I mean, it's pretty good. It's not like great or anything, but it's good. And its grinding is also good. If you've grinded dungeons with gum, you'll know you can pretty much like one-shot those bosses with the right build. If your Gatling does enough, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, it's just like grinding Sea Beast. You can just hit him with a Gatling. Same for Krakens, because the Gatling has hyper armor, so you can do really good grinding with that. Leveling, I don't know how it is for leveling, considering it doesn't have very many high AoE moves. But other than that, it's like really solid, so I think B was a fair place to actually put it. Goro, it has a good PvP, but its grinding is a bit lacking. It can't grind Sea Beast, it can't grind Krakens. It has very high cooldown, so grinding bosses becomes a little bit difficult. Leveling is pretty easy though, since it has high AoE, good damage moves. But yeah, like leveling in dungeons is what it has, and PvP is good, so I think sliding into B tier was pretty good. Bomb, I won't touch on too much because I've made so many bomb videos in the past, but it's good for grinding and good for PvP. You know, self-destruct is really useful for dungeons and leveling in general. So yeah, you can just level at the Baratier or Fishman Island with that for a few hundred levels, to be honest. Yeah, and it's PvP. I used to main it for a while. I really liked Bomb. It's pretty solid for PvP. Nothing amazing, but it's pretty solid. Hiei, it's good for PvP, but its leveling is very lacking. Like, it's really good for PvP, but it just can't. It has like almost no grinding capabilities, I don't think. It's a low damage, high stun lock fruit. What do you expect? That's about it. Like, it's all doesn't have hyper armor, which is really dumb, but yeah. It's not the greatest, so it just sits at B tier. And then we have the actual really good fruits at A tier. So Goro, Goro gets A tier. Its grinding is okay. It's nothing crazy. It's pretty good, but its PvP is really good. Like, it's really good for PvP, really brain dead for PvP. It's not the most fun, but not taking that into account while I'm ranking these. Now am I? But yeah, its PvP is good, and its grinding is really good. So it slides itself into A tier with a really solid kit. Pika is super good for grinding. Arguably one of the best fruits, if not the best fruit for grinding. And its PvP is just lacking a bit. By a bit, I mean a good amount. It's not great for PvP by any means. Some people have been pretty creative and pretty good with it, but most have not. It's hard to work with. It has almost no combo ability, but yeah, that's Pika for you. Even with its new nerfs, if you don't know, in update 4, some of its light ray, you move slower while doing it, and now the fact since NPCs can block now, using light ray to grind isn't as viable on bosses because they'll block the light ray. Sure, it'll guard break them over the time, but you can only hold light ray out for so long. So it definitely makes light ray less, just makes Pika overall less good for grinding. So I had to put it in A tier. But yeah, next we have Tori. Now Tori might surprise a couple people, but it actually is really good for grinding dungeons and leveling, because if you put enough skill points into Tori, Phoenix Burst will guard break, and the burn damage heals you in dungeons, which stacked onto when you're hitting 50 NPCs at a time, or not 50, but maybe like 20-30 NPCs at a time, you can get full health off one Phoenix Burst. So that's pretty great. And the flight is also really useful for grinding and leveling and whatnot, and Phoenix Burst's cooldown is also very short, so it makes grinding Krakens and Sea Beasts really easy too. If you just sit back and spam your Phoenix Burst. PvP, it's alright. It's nothing crazy. It's alright. Talons, with this new high sword mastery thing that everyone's doing, where you can get 50 damage on ones casually now. With that, just Talons is pretty crazy. You know, you can rely on it and have a good amount in Devil Fruit, and you'll heal off your M1s, and that's pretty good. or you can rely on the old classic Tori Fishman build, which is still very viable till this day, which I don't see people doing like ever, but it's like really brain dead and really easy. I used to do it all the time back in update 3. But yeah, A tier. Now Zushi. It's really good for PvP. It's really good for PvP. I feel like everyone knows Zushi's really good for PvP. Just high M1 builds, low Devil Fruit builds. It's super good. Roku, you can Afro Dash. It's gravity dominance. I think they nerfed Afro Dash a bit since Soru Dash has end lag now, but it doesn't make it any. It makes it a little less viable, but it's still pretty viable, I'm pretty sure. And the grinding isn't bad. It's pretty good. I mean, you can use Rocket and Meteor Fury on Sea Beast and Krakens, and the leveling you can use Gravity Dominance. It's a good AoE move with Hyper Armor, so that's pretty good. You know, it's leveling is definitely there. You can definitely make it through the game, leveling and grinding. The only thing it can't do is probably like Sea Beast farm. I'm not Sea Beast farm. Actually, no, I was gonna say Marine Ship farm, but that's a problem of the past. I'm pretty sure Zushi can Marine Ship farm with ease now, which is nice. So yeah, slides itself into A tier. Pretty alright, pretty good for leveling or grinding in general, and really good for PvP. So A tier. Then we have Mera. Now, well, actually, now we have the S tier as a whole. So what a fruit has to be to qualify for S tier, if you can't tell, is really good for both. It has to be really not the best. Like Pika is probably better than all of these fruits for grinding. Maybe with a couple exceptions for a few specific ways of grinding, but like just really good for both, like at least an 8 out of 10 in both factors, PvP and PvE, for it to make it into S tier. So Mera is in S tier because if you don't know, it can grind. It's probably the best fruit for grinding dungeons. It's so good with its flight. You can just sit in the air and then chuck down fireflies and whatnot. Yeah, just really good for that. And its PvP is really good too. If you've never fought a really good Mera user, they are terrifying because they use a lot of their skills all the time, and Flame Pillar is a really good guard break. You can Kirby Slam into Fireflies, dealing a true combo in M1s that does hundreds of damage, and just stuff like that. Checking out High Ken randomly just works for some reason, I don't know, and it's just really good. So yeah, it gets itself an S tier. Then we have Suna. Same thing, really good for leveling, really good for grinding dungeons, really good combo extenders for PvP. It's just really good all around, and it slides itself into S tier. You can use Cutlass to combo extend, you can use Storm in PvP and in PvE. If you use it in dungeons, it'll one-shot the bosses. It's just insane. Like, it's so incredibly good for both. Then we have Magu. Same applies to Magu. It used to be maybe a bit more broken. Well, actually, I think the new Eruption buff is more broken. If you don't know, Magu's flip-flopping all the time, so that's probably the only one that's going to end up changing on this list, maybe. But Eruption is a true combo extender if you use Trident, so you can M1 and then do Eruption and then pull someone out the air, and then you'll have a true combo extender. And Hound used to be a guard break, but I think Eruption is a little more broken than Hound as a guard break. I'm not gonna lie, just because like you can do way more damage than you could have with Hound if you just use Eruption, and it's a true combo. So yeah, it's also really good for grinding because of Hound and Rain and Fist. They're just really good for leveling, high AoE, high damage, good range, the whole 5 yards. It's the whole 9 yards. It's everything you want. Very well rounded fruit. It exceeds in everything, so it slides itself at S tier. I think we covered all the fruits. I don't think I missed anything. Yeah, keep in mind this is just my opinion. None of this affects trading or anything like that. I mean, the Magu one kind of does. It's very high valued, and Suna is also very high valued, but mainly because Suna's new. But yeah, this is again just my opinion. If you guys disagree, don't be mad about it. Just let me know why in the comments. You know, type it up all nice for your boy. Don't be all mean about it. But yeah, that's it for this video. See you guys next time. Peace.